Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, it's Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York. It's Kastuba. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday, Walk on Wednesday. Before we bring our Walk on Wednesday guests, I just want to say good morning and welcome and announcements. And Mara, announcements, Miss Mara.
Bhakti recovery group meetings today at 1 and 9:30 p.m. And Michelle Berger, our Mystic Mama, is offering an asana class today at 3:30 for our Patreon members.
You know what's interesting, Kastu? We had this Seva weekend this weekend, and after lunch, everyone's working like crazy. After lunch Saturday, everyone just started going, I'm exhausted. I can't do anything. Even Long Arm of the Law, who's listening, he's like, I can't paint another stroke. And Sweet Banjo Mike was just like, I hurt my rib. Everyone was just like breaking down. And then I heard this thing by Radhi Kesh, one of our astrologers who listens to the show. He was just like, and it was an old thing for the weekend. He said, do not do physical heavy labor on this particular weekend. We had planets working against us. It wasn't people just making excuses. It was planetary collusion going on. Yeah.
Good to know that, Raghunath.
It's just an interesting twist to the whole story.
Okay.
So, any other? I've got some announcements.
Yeah.
We have Radhanath Swami at our Bhakti Center retreat. We're doing a Bhakti Center retreat. It's the Lord Jagannath retreat we do every year. We tell stories of Lord Jagannath. We sing kirtan. We have satsangs. We do a little all levels yoga class. It's a wonderful day. On Saturday, we take a field trip up Fifth Avenue, walk down Fifth Avenue with Lord Jagannath. It's the Ratha Yatra parade, which is copied from the one that happens in Jagannath Puri, and it's been happening since unrecorded time. It's been going on. So we're doing it, and Radhanath Swami's part of it. So if you have heard about that and you want to go to New York for some reason, why not hang out with a bunch of cool people, eat great food, walk down Fifth Avenue, pull a gigantic cart.
It's one of the most fun retreats we do, right? Because on Friday during the day, even though it's not officially part of the retreat, you come forth. There's kirtan in Tompkins Square Park, where Srila Prabhupada inaugurated kirtan in the Western world, all that afternoon. So that's fun and nice. And then that Friday night, Radhanath Swami will do a program on the roof of the Bhakti Center. So it's a very cool setting. The whole atmosphere is really great. Everything's in anticipation for the next day. Then the next morning we do programs. Then everyone goes, like you're saying, up for that parade. You come down, and then at our table, I think we want to just like have our own Wisdom of the Sages scene going on, right? With kirtans and all that. Well, I think we'll have a really cool scene.
Yeah, it's quite exciting. It gets bigger every year. Last year we did this. There was like a sun shower last year. We were having kirtan just sitting on the ground in the middle of nowhere, and all our people were very focused and very joyful. So I'm looking forward to that. Go to bhakticenter.org. That's their website. You can sign up for that. I think we have like 1 or 2 beds left for the Wisdom of the Sages retreat upstate New York. That's happening next week, and I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, and Satchidananda Swami is going to be there for the first day. Very, very exciting. And we're going to have great kirtan. And what else did I want to say? Oh, my pilgrimage to India is almost filling up. We're having an incredible whirlwind adventure. Udaipur, Nathdwar, Varanasi, Vrindavan, Rishikesh, Hardwar. If you're interested in going on pilgrimage with me, find out why people go repeatedly. It's quite a wonderful, wonderful adventure. If people who go always say this to me when I see them, I can't stop thinking about India. It's the same thing. They say the same thing. It's real magic stuff. So go to my website, raghunath.yoga. Okay, Mr. Kastuba. We are going to bring on some special people today because they're Sage Group leaders. And we're going to talk about Sage Groups because we find that this is a very, very, how do I explain it? It's an exciting part of our podcast that I'm going to give the credit to you that you've started with Braja Bihari about breaking into small groups. There's something magic in breaking into small groups. And we get flooded with emails about how transformative this is. It costs nothing. It costs nothing. We want nothing from you to do this. It's just to build community. And it's working. It's working. People are looking forward to this. They're eager. They're inspired. I'm going to pass the baton to you, Kastuba. Take over from here.
Well, the point is that these Sage groups, they're groups that you join, small groups, about 8 people in each group, each with a really nice, qualified leaders that are there to just kind of help facilitate the discussion on these higher Bhakti-related topics, but really, about how you apply it in your life, what you're going through in your life, what questions you have, et cetera, et cetera. You can bring it all out there. Everything you need to ask, everything you need to share, make friends, connect with people that are practicing Bhakti. It's essential in our own practice. And so we created these groups. We have over 40 of them, and they go for like a certain length of time. Like this coming one will go for 14 weeks. So it starts the first week in June and goes into September. So it's like a 14-week commitment. You connect with this group of people. You get together every week for about an hour and a half once a week. They're at different times. You go to our website. You click on Sage Group. You go to wisdomofthesages.com. You click on Sage Groups. You see all the different Sage Group leaders and the different times that their group is, and some of them have certain themes. And you can join up. As you're mentioning, it's free of cost, and it's a really powerful next step for people that are listening to the podcast and want to go.
There's no upsell, right, Kastuba? We're not going to join this group, and you're going to be like, well, if you really want the real information, you join the platinum
it's
group.
Not like that.
No, you don't do. Okay, all right.
I mean, there's always a spiritual upsell, right? Like there's always something more in that sense.
Well, how do we get paid from this?
Don't worry about that. The Lord will care for you.
The Lord will provide.
Okay, but we wanted to bring on, amongst our groups, 2 of our Sage Group leaders are Kunti and Madhvacharya. These are really special people. They've for many years they've headed up a center in Washington D.C., the Institute for Applied Spiritual Technology, which is like a really dynamic center, dynamic in the way that they present Bhakti. So many wonderful people have come through that center. Kunti is a registered nurse, and Madhvacharya also works in the hospital. I think anesthesiologist. Am I correct about that? Let's bring you on here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
Do you guys meet in the hospital?
That's what I was wondering.
Just like surgery or something, and just looking at each other. Was it something like that, or no?
That was it.
That was it.
He was chasing me in the hospital, so I had to submit.
That's not quite true. I'll tell you the real story later.
Okay. But could you just share a bit about your experiences leading a Sage Group and how it's been going for you? You've done 2 times already or 1 time already? 2 times already, I believe. Right?
Twice.
Yeah. So this will be your 3rd session that you do.
Yes.
Yeah.
How's it been for you?
It's been fantastic. In large part because of the people that are brought together. The people who are part of this community. They're just special people. They're sincerely interested. they're seekers, they're dynamic, they want to grow, and we connect on a very deep level. And so we form these amazing relationships. You have, I believe you'll introduce in a few minutes, Kelly and Matt, who are prime examples of that. And because we're all together, set up by a platform that you provide, where we're talking about Srimad Bhagavatam and how it applies to our lives, that people are genuinely trying to apply it and see how they can grow with the messages that they're receiving, how they can grow this in their lives. And so given that circumstance, we connect on a really deep level and form lasting relationships. Matt and Kelly, who you'll introduce in a second, you'll see these are people that I'd like to keep a friendship with for the rest of my life.
I heard that Matt and Kelly, that they after, because they pass through your group, and then the group ends at a certain point, and they're like, "Could we be adopted into your family?"
Yes.
They were asking. But Kunti, could I ask you a question? Let's say I'm kind of shy, right? Like, let's say I was listening to this podcast, and a lot of the ideas are really resonating with me, and I'd like to read the Bhagavatam, and it excites me, but maybe I'm a little socially just hesitant to jump into a group of people that I don't know. I don't know what will it be like for me? Is that a question? Will that be a problem for me?
Actually, I'm also shy, so.
Okay.
I
could you please just a little closer to the mic, because it's just a little bit hard to hear you.
First, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better.
So I am also shy, and so it's easier to connect at the human level, at the human level. And it's just building a relationship, a friendship. It's just knowing about people's lives and sort of connecting with that and building on that. So it's very easy. It's fluid, actually. These relationships are so organically built. I call this Sangha as one big table. Every week we meet at a round table with really wonderful friends, and we reveal our hearts. It's about just really sincerely connecting, and we talk about our challenges and our triumphs and our concerns, and using the Bhakti principle, those discussion points you send.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're not always framed in that discussion point. We go everywhere and we talk sincerely. These people are friends, as I mentioned.
I love that you're mentioning. I send every week for the week's discussion. We send some notes, some talking points based on some subject that we discussed on the podcast in the previous week. But I also love the idea that really it's not bound to that. And if there's a need, somebody brings up something in their life that's important to them or meaningful to them or concerning to them, and if it starts to resonate with the other people, then the conversation can go in whatever direction it may go.
It goes actually everywhere. Sometimes we sort of run over time because our conversations are so beautiful.
Does that mean that there's squirrels going on in these groups? Squirrels are running around left and right?
I can help with that. Bring me in.
Maybe I should send in notes, Raghunath, and you should send in squirrels every week.
Yeah.
In that way, people can go different ways. But let's bring on Matt and Kelly. Matt has been tremendously helpful to Wisdom of the Sages. I always forget exactly what kind of business is it that you run? Like, what do you call that kind of business? It's like you help businesses get their whole act together, and in terms of the presentation.
and specifically we help them with their technology. So we build software for businesses.
But it seems like your team is educated in just. I suppose you need to be educated in the strategies for expanding your business.
Yes, because now, almost every business is running on software and software processes. So it's a really big part of what everybody who's in business and government agencies do.
Right. And Kelly, you're involved in kind of like social work. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that what you do?
Community engagement. all kinds of social justice efforts. Yeah.
There in Denver, Colorado.
Yes.
Okay. And then you two jumped into Madhvacharya and Kunti's Sage group. Could you share a bit about that with us, how that experience was?
Well, it's super cool because we both applied for Sage groups. He'd already been in three groups. And he said he invited me, but I don't remember getting the invitation. But this one I remember. But we signed up separately. And we signed up for 3 choices. And we didn't know which groups we signed up for. And then when we got
you both got on the same one.
We did. And
it's a Christian miracle.
It kind of was. I mean, it wasn't.
I guess out of 4, it's like a 1 out of 43 chance or something like that. So
but we both signed up for a marriage. A marriage group. We both signed up for a marriage.
Kunti and Madhvacharya's group is the theme is for married people, right? So it's like it's not that you necessarily talk about that all the time, but all the people that are in it are married and that may become part of the conversation. The conversation may take place in that context, if I understand correctly.
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so you joined the group. You ended up in the same group, and then how did it go?
It was my favorite part of the week every week.
Yeah,
it's great because we listen to this show, so we have a lot of conversations around what we hear on the show, and then we get the one pager that I think Kasuba, you put it together. So then we talk about that, and then we participate in the group in that. And for us, that was I think from like 5 to 6:30 our time in Colorado, once a week, and then we talk about what we talked about in the group together. So it gives us a lot of topics for conversation.
And you've had a real connection with Kunti and Madhvacharya, like a relationship that will continue beyond the segment of weeks that
I hope so.
And other people, have you made friends with other people in the other groups that you've been in, Matt?
Yes. And also with the Sage leaders, which that's my favorite part about the group is just being learning from people who know what they're talking about. You said they were highly qualified. Yes. And being exposed to not only their knowledge about whatever topics were coming from the show, but also just hearing stories from their lives.
Right.
It's really inspiring to me.
So you've been doing this, I guess, for a couple years. If you've been in 3 groups already.
2, I guess 2. This last one was my 3rd.
The last one, so that you're going into your 4th now.
So Nityananda Chandra was the Sage group leader.
Yeah, who have been your leaders? Braj Bihari Prabhu.
Oh. These are all great.
Chandra, Kunti Madhvacharya. And the next one, have you signed up for the coming one? Oh, you don't know yet because we haven't.
We don't know yet.
That's right. So you've just written it. And here's a news flash for everybody listening. If you would like to enter Kunti and Madhvacharya's group, there are 8 slots in each group, and there's 3 still open in that group. So you can dive in there and get in there quick if you want. So we encourage you to give that a shot.
And they're up at 4 a.m. just for this little interview right now.
Oh, because they're in
Denver.
Yeah.
This is Kostuba. This is the magic formula for advancing in Bhakti too. You get people who are you get people who are eager.
Yeah.
And then they approach people who've walked the path.
Yeah.
And that transmission of information, of Q&A back and forth, this is what makes us evolve. And they say, you know what? I like that. I want that.
Right.
And then they take a step forward. And I'm struggling with this. What do you think about this? And then they give an answer. That makes sense. That makes more sense than anything I've ever heard. And this is this is the magic that happens between teachers and students, gurus, disciples, seniors and juniors, friends and new friends. And that's what these Sage groups provide. And I see the combination in you 4 getting together like this. And I'm super happy for you because I remember when I met devotees for the first time and my head was just spinning and I didn't get it, but I was eager and I was sincere. And I bumped into a lot of people that didn't make sense. And then Krishna just sends you somebody like, oh, thank you. And it's such a great relief.
Well, that's what we do. We try to curate people, bhakti yogis who we feel can really communicate it well. That again, it's not exactly that they're teachers in these groups, but they're helping to facilitate a conversation. It's natural that questions can be placed up and they can help with them. But people that are that you and I have been exposed to thousands of bhakti yogis over the decades, right? And we try to pick people that we think will really be able to relate to our audience well. And so Kunti and Mavacharya we get nothing but incredibly positive feedback about these two. And really all our group leaders are really great people. So give it a try, right?
I can see by their smiling faces they're inspired, Matt and Kelly. It's 4 a.m. They shouldn't be looking as happy as they are, but they're very, very blissful right now.
Can I say though, it's the knowing what you're talking about, that's super important. But I think I'm learning from the show. It's learning from the heart of someone who lives it.
That's right.
It's different than knowing. It's that our hearts connect, and I'm compelled. I fall in love with what they say and how they say it because your hearts connect.
Yeah, that's you've understood, one of the great secrets of bhakti there, right? It's someone may know all the information and have understood it in an academic way, but it doesn't mean that they actually have bhakti in their heart. And the only way that you get that, you don't get it, you can't get it in an academic setting. You get that from someone who's got it. So that's why Sangha is so important. And all these group leaders, they're people that they've got it, So thank you, all four of you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much.
We just wanted to say how grateful we are to you and to Raghunath for building this big, beautiful community. You are your service is so awesome. Thank you for including us, actually.
Oh, thank you for being part of it.
And we learn a lot more than we give.
Yes.
We're inspired by our association. We want to give a shout out to Laura and Leslie and Michelle and Zachary also, who are part of our group. We love you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you guys coming to Rath Yatra in New York City?
Absolutely.
We'll
We're coming
there.
Friday. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Come Friday. We'll have you say something and then go to the Wisdom of the Stages table at the Washington Square Park and we can all sing together.
Yeah. And you're on the list to come up on the roof for Radhanath Swami's program. Don't just tell him we sent you.
Just say, I'm a VIP.
No, we registered.
Oh, you're registered.
Oh, you're a very important Prabhu's.
I want to be your humble servant since
These are actually, thank you all so much. Thank you.
I want to thank Matt and Kelly. Kostuba came up with a great subtitle for your business. I don't know if you're thinking about rebranding or anything, but Kostuba was like, we help you get your act together. That was what Kostuba said at the beginning. And Matt is desperately trying to help us get our act together. If you know me and Kostuba, our act is somewhat not together, but it's slowly getting put together. And we're very grateful for your guys' help. And I'm glad you're part of the team. And a big Harry Bowl for waking up early.
Harry Bowl.
Very well.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Kostuba, Laura Marco put on the board. We need a divorced group. I was thinking, I wonder if I was in the married group and then I got divorced, if Kunti would kick me out of the married group. Sorry, Raghunath, you have to go.
But
that is a good idea, a divorce group, because divorced people are going through their own thing. Yeah. There's so many things.
It's true. Kunti Mavacharya, they're speaking so humbly, saying, they're thanking us, and all. These are very senior bhakti yoga practitioners, and not just senior, but these are
senior sounds like, but I guess it's a good word. Senior.
Yeah, senior.
Yes.
I mean, they've been doing it for a long time.
Yes.
But just they're very, very deep in their practice and very expert in their practice. I'm not joking when I said that everybody that goes through their group, we hear wonderful things about. These are people that have really, again, the organization that the center that they run there in DC, the Institute for Applied Spiritual Technology. It's a Bhakti yoga organization, and they know how to apply it. These are people working in the world. They're both working in hospitals. Are tough places. It's like you bring in your Bhakti yoga goggles and live in that world day after day after day after day after day. You get deep realizations about life.
You get deep realization. You get wise.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing pain.
Yeah.
Like we like to surround our life with things that aren't painful. Happy people, fun people, pretty people. But when you see pain on a regular basis, you got to dig deep.
Yeah. You do.
It's quite amazing.
Anyway. Okay. And you know, I just want to say
Narayanam.
that they're far more cultured people than we
They're
are.
far
you
more
know?
cultured,
It's just
yeah.
like when they're
I
saying
mean-
those things to us, it's like I'm just like, no.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm a mess.
Yeah.
We know that. All right.
You ready?
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tadojayam mudirayat. Before we start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Mudatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. I was watching a good little Instagram video this morning on Catholicism because I follow this Catholic priest, and I should think I follow the Catholic Church. And he was saying about tattoos, Kostuba. And he was like, they were asking, what do Catholics feel about tattoos? And I don't know if he's speaking on behalf of the Pope and Peter, but he did say that, the body is the temple and we shouldn't desecrate the temple.
Well, what if you're decorating the temple?
Oh, touche! Touche, Father! I never thought of that.
Shouldn't you decorate the temple?
Yeah, shouldn't you decorate the temple? Okay, all right. I was about to drop a bomb on all the Catholic bhaktas out there. But
Why are you even bringing this up? Does this have anything to do with your daughter Sachi wanting to get into tattoo artistry?
I don't know. That just sort of came out of the ether and landed in my skull, and I thought I'd share it.
Okay. You do that from time to time.
You know what? It's called divine inspiration, and I'm going to go with it.
Well, speaking of divine
squirrels.
Speaking of divine inspiration, we got the Srimad Bhagavatam here. And we're coming towards the end. We may finish it today. We may not. Let's see. But we're on text 41. Is that right, Mara?
42.
Text 42. Are you sure?
No, we can do 41.
Mara.
I don't think we did 41.
Mara's usually on this.
She might be. I may be wrong, but I thought we only do one yesterday? Or did we do two? Yeah, we're on text 41.
We didn't do 41.
We didn't do 41.
Text 41. When the conditioned soul accepts the shelter of the creeper of fruit of activity.
What does creeper mean?
Creeper doesn't mean like, hey, that creep creeping around. That creeper's over in my backyard. What the hell? A creeper is like a vine, a little baby vine growing.
Okay.
When the conditioned soul accepts the shelter of the creeper of fruit of activity, it's like a little something for my work, right? He may be elevated by his pious activities.
Okay.
Right? I make a little money, do a little good. And because I had some good karma in my past life, it seems like everything's sprouting.
Or in a bigger way, continue reading.
Pious activities. He gets elevated by his pious activities to higher planets.
That's
bigger than making money. He's going to higher planets and thus gains liberation from hellish conditions. It seems like success, doesn't it?
It seems like it.
It is. It's called material success.
Okay.
And it seems, and the whole world is mad after it. But unfortunately, he cannot remain there. Isn't that true?
Time bound,
body bound, success bound, karma bound. How many stories of it that people just lose everything? They get and then they lose.
Yeah.
People have a very successful business and they lose it. I'm really big into real estate and lose everything. Happens a lot. And just hearing about that sort of like can prep you that things can turn. And, huge countries go through this where all of a sudden their currency becomes worthless or the currency goes. It happened in America. We had the real estate crash in 2007 where you own a house that's worth $1 million. Now it's worth $500,000 overnight. You lost everything overnight. Or, when I was in the 90s, the currency in Brazil crashed, went like down half his amount, or sometimes it goes to like nothing, or sometimes countries get taken over by another country, and you were living a good life, and all of a sudden you're running for your life. So these things happen. These things reverse. How did we get talking about this, Kostuba?
Because the verse that we're reading,
Okay.
it's talking about how even if you go to the higher planet, again,
you fall down from these positions, either in the higher planets, right, when you got to come down, or even in this life, we see there's reversals.
When it's not a squirrel, you don't know where you are.
Because squirrels generally are floating in space. They're nowhere. They're not landed anywhere, and they can just go. But when I'm talking about the verse, that's when it gets problematic.
So we discussed this a bit yesterday. I won't go into a whole nother thing. But again, the entire Bhagavatam, there's a theme that's sown throughout the entire Bhagavatam, and commonly at the end of chapters, or at the end of a set of chapters on the same topic, then Sukadeva Goswami or whoever's narrating will make this point, and ultimately it's Vyasadeva who's chosen to curate these certain narrations, right? And he's making the point here. He's helping us understand that there are valid texts from this tradition, like the 4 Vedas, that encourage material success through cultivation of good karma, but it's only meant to be a first step. If you stop there, you don't achieve the goal of life. And so he's making this point here that even if you achieve what seems to be the ultimate material success goal, it's only success in terms of, it's a temporary success. It's not the real success. Even if you achieve the highest level of it, you go to the higher planets, you come back down. It's time bound. Whereas devotion is something different. Understand what the real success of life is.
Sure. We were talking about the other night about that, or the other day about that. If you grew up our age, VH1, what was it? Behind the scenes. No, it was
Behind the music.
It was behind the music. And it was sort of like, whatever happened to David Lee Roth? It's like sort of like, and he's like, whatever. He's like, shh,
he's on top of the world at one point.
David Lee Roth was like the biggest thing in the world when I was a kid. And he was like filling the New Haven Coliseum. And now he's like a short order cook or something like that. And
I think he's doing Vegas. I think he's doing Vegas.
He's probably doing Vegas.
But like now people are making videos of you, like how bad you are at Vegas, and your voice is,
But I'm not. That's nothing against David Lee Roth, because we understand that fame. That's just the way the world works.
Yeah.
And it could turn around the next minute. Sometimes people that happens too. Everything goes away, and then all of a sudden they get bigger again. Things go away. I think that happened to the Rolling Stones. It's like no one cared. They were the biggest, then no one cared, and then they put out a record and everybody cared. Something like that.
Okay.
So anyway, these things are chanchala, or they're flickering like a flame. They're not steady. Fame, wealth, strength, intelligence, position, power, etc. We're looking to invest in something more subtle.
Okay. After reaping the results,
Mara, you got to help me. Whenever I get squirreled, you got to bring me back. That is your job.
Why do you take it off the screen? I don't understand why you do that. Like, why don't you?
I don't. You know what I do? With a nervous habit, I just scroll around. After reaping the results of pious activities, he has to return to the lower planetary systems. That's where we are. In this way, he perpetually goes up and down. We're doing it in this life. If you don't believe in this whole planetary system thing, we're doing it in this life. Okay. Having summarized the teachings of Jud Bharat, Sukadeva Goswami said, my dear King Prickett, the path indicated by Jud Bharat is like the path followed by Garuda. Hold on a second. Young Tommy Fawcett, where is he? Who's Garuda? Quick. Oh my God, I'm doing a bad job as your teacher. Bobby Marchand.
I like the way that you put it on yourself. Look, Mara's giving hints over here. She's like flapping her wings.
Mara's flapping her wings. Bobby Marchand is with us today for our morning session, because late at night we found out there was a runaway criminal in her neighborhood.
Really?
And we called her up. We're like, get the kid and get over here right now. They're on the loose. They can't find him. There's helicopters in Kinderhook.
Like, we're calling off the search because we can't find him. I was like, I don't think that's the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
We can't find him. We're just going to call this thing off. Good night, everybody. Probably good to lock your doors and windows.
Okay, back to
That's why
Garuda.
Bobby's here. And young Tommy Fawcett didn't know who Garuda was, but so he's saying that Judd Bart is like the path followed by Garuda, the carrier of Lord Vishnu. And ordinary kings are just like flies.
Okay.
Flies cannot follow the path of Garuda. And to date, none of the great kings and victorious leaders could follow this path of devotional service, not even mentally.
Interesting. Have you ever, I think it was Sri Dayananda Maharaj, at one point he was translating Mahabharata.
Yeah, I started reading that when he first started translating that.
I wish it would have been completed. He
told me he was going to finish it.
Okay, but it's been a long time, right?
Well,
Hopefully.
Sometimes people need to take a break, Kastuba.
I'm not saying
Rome wasn't built
I'm not
in a
blaming
day.
anyone here. I'm just saying I wish I could read it right now. But I think he was doing the whole thing, and it's somewhere early in the Mahabharata. There's like a whole chapter that describes Garuda. Have you read?
Yes, because Garuda is a big part of the Mahabharata, and that's where Kalia comes in, the chase and the Nagas.
It was incredible, the descriptions of Garuda, just like this glorious. Garuda is the carrier of Lord Vishnu, right? Like an eagle,
a divine eagle.
And but there's he's no ordinary eagle. He's like this tremendously powerful bird, and when you read those descriptions, it's like it's just amazing to hear about him. So when he says this, that the path indicated by Jadabarta is like the path followed by Garuda, the carrier of the Lord. And ordinary kings are just like flies. Like a little fly can't fly like an eagle, what to speak of like Garuda.
Yeah. Well, when you're up here at Super Soul Farm, sometimes you'll see an eagle. And it's just like a whole different way of flying.
They soar.
They just soar. All the other birds are like, whoa, 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 whoa,
at great heights,
flapping around. They just soar in the sky.
Soaring at heights that a fly could never approach.
And flying at heights, yes. Flying at heights.
So a comparison has been made today and yesterday in the verses that we're reading. Ordinary kings, even they may be powerfully influential, materially incredibly successful, being able to establish power and change the course of history. They're just like little flies. Whereas an ordinary person, if they want to begin to walk this path of bhakti, they're soaring like an eagle, right? In terms of real success, they're soaring. And someone that's just achieving material success, they're just like a fly in comparison.
Continuing on, text 43. While in the prime of his life, the great Maharaj Bharat gave up everything because he was fond of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Uttama Shloka. He gave up his beautiful wife, his nice children, his great friends. He probably had great friends. And an enormous, it's interesting. I was like, yeah, he had friends. I never thought about that, but he probably had cool friends, great friends. Yeah. Hey, Bart. Maharaj Bart. Call me Bart. And an enormous empire.
Gave it all
Although
up.
These things were very difficult to give up, Maharaj Bart was so exalted that he gave them up just as one gives up stool after evacuating. That was a little graphic. I wasn't really ready for that, but okay. Yes.
Such was the greatness.
Such was the greatness of His Majesty.
This is the point here, although it was rather graphic.
That was very graphic. He could have said, I don't mean to correct Vyasadeva here.
Okay, here's the point.
Like throwing something off of your chariot, he gave it up. Like you throw it off your chariot.
Well, but it's even, but the graphic example serves a purpose, Raghunath. They wouldn't have shared it if it didn't.
Okay.
So it's like this. Say Raghunath decided, I want to go deep into my spiritual practice.
Yeah.
And you got inspired to renounce. You walked away from your home. Right? You walked away from whatever social roles that you play. You even walked away from dear friends and even family. And you went off into the forest all alone, right? Never to come back. Now, unless you are experiencing something out there in that forest that is very powerful and very dynamic, something spiritually is going on that's really you're thriving on, and it's exciting to you, and is very deeply satisfying. Unless you're experiencing something like that out there, somewhere in your mind, you're going to be saying, did I do the wrong thing? Maybe I shouldn't have given that up. Maybe I'd be happier right now if I were back there.
What was I thinking? Maybe I
what was I
acted too hastily.
Yeah. Many people would turn and go back.
Some people do. They give up and then they come back.
And then they go back.
I'm sorry.
And most would at least think, did I do the right thing?
Sure.
You know, there'd be some feeling of that. But when you evacuate and then you flush the toilet and you walk away, nobody ever thinks like
personally. Okay.
Anybody.
Okay.
Nobody thinks, did I do the right thing in flushing the toilet?
Should I go back in? Should I stay there a little longer?
What have I given up? Nobody thinks like that, right? Nobody thinks, what have I given up, right? That's why that's being shared here, because his spiritual, his renunciation was, he was experiencing something powerful, something so deep in that renunciation that he didn't think for a second that what I gave up would have been a better path. He didn't, because he was experiencing something so profound.
Teasing out this very graphic analogy.
Yeah.
It's not that, but he was saying, I gave it up as if it was nothing. Like not. These are the things that people value the most.
Yeah.
And I'm.
He didn't once look back like, oh, did I make the wrong decision here?
Right.
Okay. Even though he had everything that a materialist is desiring, right?
Including great friends.
He had a beautiful wife, wonderful children, great friends, an enormous empire, you know, wealth like we can't even imagine. He walked away from it. He didn't turn once back and say, did I do the wrong thing? Because he was experiencing something so deep on the spiritual level. Okay.
Okay.
You know, I want to read a little something from the commentary here. You ready?
Yeah.
Prabhupada writes here, he says, we have to learn from the great King Bharata how to become cautious in cultivating Krishna consciousness, right? Because this is one lesson from his life, is that he walked away from everything, but then he got attached to this little deer. He had to take his next birth, right? He says, a little inattention will retard our devotional service for the time being.
Can't say that.
Can we say that now?
I can't say that anymore.
Okay.
I don't know.
He said, yet any service rendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is never lost. Now, this is spoken about in Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita here. Svalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. A little devotional service rendered sincerely is a permanent asset. That's what when Krishna's speaking, you know, Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita, right, Raghunath, when Krishna begins to speak to Arjuna is confused, he's lost, he's depressed, he's breaking down.
Anxiety. He's having an anxiety attack.
He was having.
It was like the genesis of anxiety attacks was Arjuna on the battlefield.
He had he was having all the symptoms of like an anxiety attack or panic attack.
Panic attack, his palms, his sweating,
voice was
confused, faltering.
Yeah. So he expresses his deep anxiety and stress to Krishna, and then Krishna begins to speak on what we call the level of jnana, right? He's saying, look, you're not your body. None of these people on this battlefield are their body. We're all eternal, right? These bodies we and these identities that we adopt, it's like clothes. We put them on and then we take them off and we put on a new set, right? Try to understand this clearly, right? But that wasn't enough for Arjuna to say, okay, you're right, I'm ready to do my duty. I'm you know. And so then for a few verses there, like I think about text 29 or so till about 35 or something, like in that area, Krishna begins to speak on the level of karma, not on jnana. In one sense, he's almost countering what he was just speaking about. Like, that didn't get you to do what you need to do in life. He begins to speak like, Arjuna, you know, to die on the battlefield for a warrior, the reward for that, if you're fighting for the good cause and you give your life for it, is you go to the heavenly planets. All the ancient texts speak about this. This is a good opportunity for you. And not only that, think about this. If you were to walk away from the battlefield right now, all of the people on that other side, they're not going to be saying, oh, look at Arjuna, what a noble man, right? No, they're going to say, what a coward he is. And for someone like you who's got that warrior mentality, feeling that pain of being called a coward, that dishonor for a warrior is worse than death. A true warrior would rather die than be dishonored in that way. So those aren't exactly that level of argument, although Krishna engages in it for a short time in the Bhagavad Gita, isn't where he's trying to bring Arjuna ultimately. Because then he stops, and then he quotes this verse that Prabhupada is quoted here in text 24. I'm going to speak to you on a whole nother level now, Arjuna. I'm going to speak to you about what's called Nishkama Karma Yoga, right? Working in this world, doing your duties in this world, Nishkama, without any material desire, without any fruit of desire. I'm going to speak to you on that level, which is the platform on which bhakti can be practiced, right? And he says, and then he's saying something to him special here. He's saying, I was just telling you how you can die and go to the heavens and so on. But what I'm talking to you about now is a whole different thing. Think of it this way. Think of it this way. There's a spiritual path and there's a material path. You can have success on either one, right? But on the material path, whatever reward you get for your success, without doubt, is time-bound and you lose it. So in one sense, in the long run, you make no progress. Zero. Everything, if you're trying to move in a certain direction, you always come back. Whereas he's saying, on this path that I'm about to describe, svalpam apyasya dharmasya, even the smallest amount of this type of dharma, even a little bit of this, you never lose it. It's like you've made that step forward in your long-term destination, towards your long-term destination. No matter what you do, even if you fall away from the path, it holds, right? It's permanent. That's if you
what
can
an investment.
Back,
what an investment.
Yes. If you can step back, you can say, for many, 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 I don't know how many lifetimes, I've been spinning my wheels going nowhere. If I even try this sincerely, even for a little bit, I take a step, an eternal step forward. So Prabhupada continues here. He says, a little devotional service rendered sincerely is a permanent asset. He quotes a verse from the Bhagavatam next, which is text 1.5.17, which reads as follows. One who has forsaken their material occupations to engage in bhakti may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage. I may take up this practice. We had an interesting question over the weekend, right, from someone who began their practice of bhakti with great enthusiasm, and then they started to hit some bumps on the road, right, and they weren't following the principles the way that they wanted to. So even if sometimes one will fall down while in an immature stage, yet there's no danger of being unsuccessful, right? Whatever progress you make, it holds. On the other hand, a non-devotee, a non-bhakti yogi, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. Even if you get this super material success, it just poof, it disappears in a short amount of time. And then Prabhupada continues in this commentary. He says, somehow or other, and this is something I think for all the stented cans out here to hear this message, right? You with me, Roger?
Yes.
Somehow or other, if one is attracted to Krishna, whatever they do in their devotional service, in their practice of bhakti, is a permanent asset. Even if one falls down due to immaturity or bad association, their devotional assets are never lost. There are many examples of this. He mentions Ajamil, who we'll be reading about sometime this year. We're going to be getting to it, right, when we begin the 6th canto. Maharaj Bharata, who we're talking about here, who fell down and became a deer, and many others. And then Srila Prabhupada says this. I really like this sentence. He says, this Krishna consciousness movement is giving everyone a chance to engage in devotional service, at least for at least some time. A little service will give one an impetus to advance and thus make one's life successful. So there's a vision that Srila Prabhupada's sharing there. Like, he was a person that came to the Western world with nothing to teach bhakti for the first time. And in one sense, he was just throwing the seeds of it all over the place. Here, give it a try. Try this, try it. He's realizing that we may take it up. Have some prasad, chant a little. He's realizing that we're not like most of us, the vast majority of us. are people that have disturbed minds, that are weak when it comes to controlling our senses and becoming strict on following any spiritual
disturbed.
path.
We're a little disturbed.
We're disturbed.
A little disturbed, a little weak.
So he's saying he's considering it a success if someone even tries it for some time and eventually falls away from it. He's saying we're giving a chance to engage in devotional service for at least some time. Give it a try for at least some time. And even if you do that, a little service, makes one's life successful. Give it, at least try it, right?
Try it out. Take it for a spin.
Yeah.
Try. It's
try Sage Group.
Also in our try Sage Group. Give it a try. Take it for a spin. We see in our own short lives that people get serious into Bhakti and then they fall away. And when they come back, and oftentimes there's a return. And it's sometimes like they disappear and you never hear from them again. And they perhaps were a leader or something. Then they come back and everything that they went through, all the pain that they went through in their, Maya period is used to propel them up and forward. And they needed those realizations. So it's almost becomes like their Leela or they had to do this to get to this next stage. When you zoom out and they pick up and come back stronger than ever. And that's a very beautiful thing too.
Sure is.
And so, this Bhakti, it doesn't go away. It's an investment that stays in your account. And then you just keep adding to it. And sometimes it's just, you add to it for your next life.
Chunk by chunk. Bharata, tomorrow we'll finish, I'm pretty sure, this chapter. But Bharata, he was practicing. He fell away from it because he just got so infatuated with this little baby deer. But his progress didn't leave him. He took his next birth with deep realizations, and then he achieved the ultimate success in that next life. Mara, do we have any takeaways today?
Mara, give us the nugget became a takeaway, which becomes a goodie. The goodie is the perfection of the takeaways.
Yeah,
it's like maple sap, maple syrup, maple candy.
Maple candy's the perfection.
Yeah.
Eagerness and association advance the spiritual path.
We're gonna have to want a t-shirt. He didn't get one, but it's okay. That's good. Very good.
Sage groups are about heart-to-heart connections.
Heart to heart. And that's what's going on.
Yeah.
Heart to heart.
We're bound by time, body, and karma.
I like this. Bound by time. That sounds like a band name too. Bound by time. I like that statement.
What were the other two though? Some time.
Yeah.
Time, body, and karma.
Body and karma.
Bound by body.
Time.
My daughter, when she was little, she used to say, "I want to fly so bad. I want to fly." I was like, "You're bound by your body. You can't."
Okay. Does she
Our
still
material opulences.
I think adults do want to fly, but they just don't vocalize it that much.
Okay.
Our material opulences are flickering.
Flicker.
A little bhakti is permanent progress.
Just a little bit.
Yep. Money in the bank.
Devotional assets are never lost.
Never.
Don't be an ass. Invest in devotional assets.
Maybe hang on to that mic.
Give Bhakti a spin.
Give Bhakti a spin.
Give Bhakti a spin. Give Sage groups a spin.
Give them a spin, people. It's a wheel. Woo!
And don't be a fly. Soar like Garuda.
Oh,
That's
good.
right.
I thought it was going to end with evacuate. I thought you were going to do an evacuation thing. Great. Fly like Garuda. But now, okay, I got to get off evacuation. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
I want to fly like
Thanks
Garuda.
to our sage leaders. Huh?
I can't believe you didn't go into the song, Raghunath. I want to fly like Garuda.
Oh, I thought the
fly
negative
like an
approach,
eagle.
evacuate.
Fly like an eagle, let your spirit get in it.
Is that the Eagles who did that song, Fly Like an Eagle?
No, that was Steve Miller Band. Come on.
Steve Miller Band. Okay. Sorry. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. And thanks to the Sage Group leaders out there. You guys are wonderful.
members.
Thanks for joining us. Incredible.
Still some spots left in Kunti and Madhvacharya's group.
Kunti and Madhvacharya, I want to get in that group. Lead me, direct me, undent me. Kunti and Madhvacharya, help me. I'm a train wreck. I'm a hot mess express.
They got 3 slots still
Thanks
open.
for joining us live. If you want to join us live, email Miss Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. She'll give you the codes. And then you can join our Zoom group. Once you get in this Zoom group, that's when we upsell the Platinum Zoom. A few of us are in that. It's 3D. You can reach out and touch each other. Just kidding. Can't do that. We're working on that, though. There is no Platinum group yet. You haven't figured out how to monetize this. We're a bunch of beggars. It's community supported. If you like what we're doing, you throw some money our way. You keep us floating. It's patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. If you're giving something, double it. How about that? Just double.
You're getting really crude with your approach.
Some of you are giving nothing. Don't double that.
I'm going to mute you.